I used to actually hate the gym, and then it wasn't until I actually tore my ACL. So I wasn't able to play netball anymore, and the only way that I was going to get back onto the court was to obviously go through rehab, gym, all those things. During that time, I found my love for the gym. That was in 2020 when COVID was around. I was binge watching all of the past Olympias and I was like, yeah, like that's what I want to look like. So I went into IFBB first, ended up winning my first show, and then I went back onto the IFBB stage. I came second in both of my shows that season, but I remember walking away just kind of not satisfied. I then met my now boyfriend, Lucas. He's a FMG Pro. And he kind of introduced me into FMG and I just fell in love with it. I remember putting my foot on stage and just being like, yeah, I'm home. Like this is where I'm meant to be. Came second in my debut, which was absolutely incredible. So then ended up doing the November show, which I earned my pro card in, which was, yeah, probably one of the best days of my life.
Welcome back to the Comp Closet podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Sarah Moore, and today we are chatting to an incredible FMG Pro. She's also the CEO and head coach of Wicksfit, a comp prep coach and a posing coach. Samantha Wicks, welcome.
Hello. It's always weird hearing like my intros. I'm always like, what do I do? Like remind me. There's just too much in my title now, I think.
Yeah, you do a lot. It's insane. We'll definitely have to get into some time management tips and things later because I'm very impressed by how much you do all the time.
Thank you.
Could you start by telling us a bit about your background and what inspired you to start bodybuilding?
So I used to be an F45 trainer. I was the manager of a studio. Used to be very into netball as well. I was trying to become like the next Firebird, essentially. That's kind of where I saw myself. I used to actually hate the gym. Fun fact. Like if you told me to go to the gym, I would just look at you and go, oh, absolutely not. Like I couldn't think of anything worse. And then it wasn't until I was 17, 16, I actually tore my ACL. So I wasn't able to play netball anymore. And the only way that I was going to get back onto the court was to obviously go through rehab, gym, all those things. During that time, I found my love for the gym. I just became obsessed with it, probably a bit too obsessed, like would go twice a day just for the fun, like nothing bad, like no bad intentions, just because I loved going to the gym. And then, yeah, suddenly gym was becoming a lot more, I guess, of a priority over netball training. I didn't really care about netball anymore. If I had a game when I would usually have a gym session, I would be like, well, I don't want to play. Like, I just want to go to the gym. So eventually I left netball, and because I was living and breathing health and fitness anyway, I was like, well, I may as well do something. Like I may as well compete. I may as well actually work towards a goal, because I was just kind of in the gym for the sake of it. You know, like I had no end goal. So that was in 2020 when COVID was around. I was binge watching, I think it was like the Olympias at the time. I was just binge watching all of the past Olympias and I was like, yeah, like that's what I want to look like. And I remember seeing Isa Pacini and being like, yes, like that's my goal. That's me. So then I contacted my now coach, Tim McKinnon, and he was like, yep, let's do it. And then I think it was a 6-month build season. And then I went into my first prep in 2021. It was the only IFBB show that wasn't cancelled that year, which was awesome. Picked the right show. So I went into IFBB first, actually. So that's where I started bodybuilding. Loved IFBB at the time. It was definitely where I was supposed to be for that era of my competing journey. Learned a lot about the sport, learned a lot about myself. Ended up winning my first show, which was everyone's dream, I think. Like everyone dreams of that gold medal the first time you get on stage. So I was lucky enough to have that moment. And then as you do, you get a high and you're like, yeah, I just want to keep doing it again. So then I went into my first off season, which was for 12 months. And then I went back onto the IFBB stage. And I remember this time I still did well. Like I still placed. I think I came second. Yeah, I came second in both of my shows that season, which was still a great achievement. But I remember walking away just kind of not satisfied and not really, I don't know, I just didn't get that like wow factor. I was like, oh, that's it. Like that's all I got to do on stage, because the stage time in IFBB versus FMG is vastly different. Like in the posing is very different. The stage presence is very different. And I was very much known in IFBB for having like this real hectic stage presence posing that was just not really seen before. So yeah, I don't know. I just kind of lost my, I guess, fire behind why I was competing and what I wanted to do. And then over that time, I was supposed to get on stage in the following season A in 2023. But when it got to the time to start prep, I was like, I just don't want to do this. I'm really not keen. My heart's not in it. And then over that time, I then met my now boyfriend, Lucas. He's a FMG Pro. And he kind of introduced me into FMG. He kind of showed me the ropes, took me to a Red Joe night, introduced me to everyone. And I just fell in love with it. I was just like, wow, this community, this family, this vibe, like the atmosphere of show day, like just everything about it was just incredible. And I think because I'd been to FMG shows, well, it was WBFF at the time, but I had been to some shows before and I didn't really know anyone in the community. So I didn't have as good of an experience as this one with Lucas. So that was the April show of 2023. And I remember watching these girls on stage and being like, yeah, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. At the time, I was actually in prep already for IFBB season B. And I went to my coach that day and I was like, oh, what are your thoughts on me switching things up and having a go? And he was like, I mean, why not? So we were going to do both shows. And then the more and more that I was prepping for that June, July show last year, the more I just kind of stopped loving IFBB and really found my passion and love for FMG. Had the most amazing experience. That was actually a year ago today that I got on stage for the first time. Really cool. Yeah, I noticed it this morning. I was like, oh, that's funny that we're doing this episode. And that was a year ago today. But yeah, I had the most amazing experience. I remember putting my foot on stage and just being like, yeah, I'm home. Like, this is where I'm meant to be. This is what I want to do now. So came second in my debut, which was absolutely incredible. Apparently it was only 1 point difference, which is just insane. Like, hats off to Tay. God, we were worked. Like, I remember being on stage with just me and Tay at one point, and we were just doing the rounds. And at the end of that comparison, I was like, oh my God, this is insane. So, yeah, knowing that I lost by 1 point, I was like, okay, I need to just keep going and push through. So then ended up doing a back-to-back prep, which never in a million years did I think I would ever do. That was never on the cards to do the end of the year. So then ended up doing the November show, which I earned my pro card in, which was, yeah, probably one of the best days of my life. And yeah, here we are. Bit of a long story, but yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That is absolutely insane. And I love how like such a positive and incredible journey and your love from the gym came from originally an injury, which probably felt like the end of the world at the time, right?
Oh, definitely. And especially because like in school, I was known as the kid who just was that netball girl, to the point where teachers would let me sleep in school because they were like, oh, she's probably training a lot. Like, she just needs to sleep. Like, they didn't care about my grades because they were like, oh, she'll be fine. She's the next netballer. Like, she doesn't need to do this in school. But looking back on it, it's like, oh, I'm so glad that I had that injury. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here now.
Yeah, exactly. It's so cool to look back on that perspective and yeah, think of how many positive things came out of it. How did it feel when you went pro? Like that is insane going pro in your second show.
It was magical. It was like everyone saw me cry. I was sobbing on stage. I think like it was so magical though, because doing a back-to-back prep is never fun. And I was warned about that before I started. And I was like, no, like, I've got this, I can do it. And my body dysmorphia was at an all-time high because, you know, when you're lean for so long, you just kind of get used to it. And you just look at yourself in the mirror and go, well, I haven't changed in 6 weeks. I look the exact same as what I did 6 weeks ago. I need to get leaner. I need to look better. Like, all these other girls are improving and, you know, bringing their best package. Am I actually bringing my best package? Especially because my feedback wasn't exactly improve anything. That was, I think, that was the hardest part, because it was more so downsize your shoulders. So I was watching myself get worse. So I think when it came to that second show, hearing my name be called, it was just like, wow, like that was all worth it. Like, all of that time, I think I was in a 15-week gap between the two shows. So, you know, when you finish a show, you don't want to get back into prep. You know, you want to enjoy yourself. You want to sleep in. You don't want to be doing cardio. But just, yeah, hearing my name, it was just like, oh, thank God. Like, I just remember thinking that. I was like, thank goodness. It wasn't that word, but it was another word. It was just like, I did it. I actually did it. And especially because in that first show when I was called second, it kind of was a burn from IFBB because I was called second twice in that season. And I remember hearing my name called second. And I was excited. I was grateful. I was really happy and proud of myself. But there was another little voice in my head saying, see, this is why you don't believe in yourself. So I had to work through that over that 15-week period. And then I think actually believing in myself and going again, knowing that I could do it, yeah, it was just the cherry on top.
Yeah, incredible. And how did you mentioned body dysmorphia, how did you work through some of those harder days when you were having that body dysmorphia with back-to-back shows?
I've never experienced it to that extent. Like that was a whole nother level. And I look back at some photos and videos now and just think, wow, how did I not see like that's not what I looked like at the time. You know, in my head, all I could see was body fat or no veins or whatever it might be. So I remember during that time when it got really, really bad, I would just start wearing baggy clothes. That's probably not the best way to deal with it, but I would just start wearing baggy clothes mainly so that I wouldn't be so focused on myself. Like I wouldn't look past a mirror and pull myself apart. I would just be wearing a baggy tee, wearing some baggy pants, and just being like, just stop looking at yourself. Like just get the job done, get in there, do what you need to do. Stop looking for things and just, be an athlete. Another thing was I stopped looking on Instagram. So I actually put a lot of other girls on mute that I was versing just to keep my head in the zone. Otherwise, you know what it's like. Like, you're an athlete yourself. You just kind of go through the doom scroll and then you're like, oh my God, I'm versing all these amazing people. I look terrible. So I just, muted a lot of stories, kept myself busy, kept myself off social media. Yeah. And also with my check-ins, I just wouldn't look at it. I would just take it, send it, and move on. And if my coach was like, yeah, you look great, I'd be like, okay, whatever. I just kind of agreed that, my head was not in it, as in like it didn't know what it was seeing. And even just like photos, posting videos, posting photos of myself, I knew because of my experience with competing, I knew that looking back on it, I'll look at it and go, wow, I'm lean here. So I would just post it. I wouldn't pull it apart. I just go, that's a nice photo, post, move on.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. I think something that helps me as well if I ever have a day where I'm like, oh, I look shit or anything like that, is just trusting your coach and like trusting that as long as you follow the plan that they set for you, you're going to be ready. It doesn't matter what you look like on a certain day. And also just like some days you just don't feel good. Like you might be posing or something at night under shitty lighting after a full day of eating. And then the next day you pose in the morning, you might have a layer of tan on and you might have the sunlight on your skin and like you feel like a totally different person. So I think it's just important to recognize as well that you will feel different at different times of the day and under different lighting, and all of those things definitely make a difference. So I think just removing yourself and trusting your coach, and like you said, not even looking at your check-in photos if you're struggling, is super important.
Yeah. I think there was one thing that someone said to me and I was like, whoa, that's so true. They pulled me on my shit and they were like, it doesn't matter what you weigh today. It doesn't matter what you look like today. You're 6 weeks out from a show. It matters what you look like in 6 weeks' time. You're never going to look back on this day and go, oh, I remember the day that my weight spiked a kilo overnight. Like you're never going to remember that day. And in the moment, it's really hard to kind of shake that feeling. But when you're on stage, it's true. You don't look back and think about those little times. You just think about how great show day is.
Yeah, 100%. So now you're 9 weeks out from your first pro show in LA. How are you feeling about your prep so far?
Really good. Really, really good. I think because I was in prep for so long last year, I think I tallied it to be 9 months of last year I was in prep. That's a long time. I think it just kind of became my life. So if anything, the off season felt weird. And now that I'm back in prep, I feel like I'm more like myself again. I also just love the lifestyle of it. So prep to me isn't really a task. It's more so just my everyday life. But yeah, I've been in prep for 11 weeks now. So just after the FMG show in Australia, I started prep. Haven't really been pushing as much, just kind of been dieting, training well, steps. That's really all been the focus lately. But as of 2 days ago, we've implemented cardio again. So the push has begun. I know in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be like, oh, I feel like shit now. But right now, we're feeling good.
Amazing. And is there anything you're doing differently this prep compared to any of your last preps?
So for this prep, we are pushing the weight the whole time. In my last prep, I hated that prep. As much as I loved it because it was my pro win, I also hated it at the same time because with the feedback being, downsize, I couldn't train. It was just, okay, if you want to train, it's going to be legs. That's all it's going to be. But if you can't get to the gym this week, don't worry about it. So there were weeks where I'd train legs once and then the 6 other days, I wasn't even doing cardio. I was just getting small amounts of steps. Like, yeah, it was not really prep to me. So this prep has been really, really different in the sense of actually training hard, the whole body, not holding back anywhere, just giving it 110%, doing cardio, doing steps, all of those fun things. So it just feels more like prep this time. And just being able to not hold back in any area has been such a fresh air. It's so nice. I can't explain it.
So you're pushing for the bikini athletic category, right?
Yes, definitely. When they announced that, I was so excited because it was like, I knew that after the last show, it was either stay that size forever and not push in the gym ever again, or take a massive off season and go into fitness. That was kind of my two paths. I'm definitely someone who loves training hard, so I was leaning more towards taking the time off and going into fitness. Then they announced Bikini Athletic, and it just opened up this whole new pathway. And it was just like, this is what the federation needed. Like the muscle development between bikini and fitness are worlds apart. That there is no crossover there. And if you were in the middle, it was always you're too big for bikini or too small for fitness. So now that they have that bikini athletic division, it's just perfect for girls like me who do have that muscle density or who look better conditioned, like they're really, really conditioned. Because for me, if I looked a little bit softer, I would not look good on stage because I hold it in my midsection. Like it just wouldn't suit me. So having that ability to just get lean and get like really, really lean, oh, so excited.
Yes, I'm so excited to see what you look like. And also the FMG Texas show as well this weekend will be cool to watch, live stream. It might be early in the morning for us, but it'll be really cool to see, the caliber of the athletes there and sort of what they're rewarding from a judging perspective and kind of start to shape the pro league for the bikini athletic category.
It's been really exciting to see the turnout as well. Did you see that photo of all of them there?
Yeah.
That was awesome, especially for the first one being overseas. Like, yeah, great turnout. It just goes to show how awesome this federation is going to be moving forward. It's definitely going to be growing.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of overseas, can you walk us through your travel plans for the show, like when you're flying out, when you're landing to acclimatize, and all those details?
So I am someone who holds water quite badly. So whenever I would even just do an interstate show, I would leave a week early just in case my body held on to anything. So I remember like when I went to the Sydney show, everyone was like, "Oh, you're there already?" And I was like, "Yep, hi." I don't trust my body. So because we're going to LA, I've actually never been to LA before. So that's really, really cool. I've never been to the States. So that's going to be a very long flight, but we're leaving, I believe, 10 days early, so around the 4th of September. And then that's going to give us enough time to drop water weight, just get everything together, but then also enough time for if anything does go wrong, because you can't control, traveling overseas. Like it is what it is. You can do what you can. That's all that matters. But if anything does go wrong, then we have a few days to fix it if need be. So the plan is to be ready before we leave and then deal with that, and then enjoy LA a little bit, train at like the big gyms in Venice and go to Miami Beach and all those things. Then have show day, have a few days back in LA. I was going to stay a bit longer, but it's actually Lucas's birthday, so I was like, well, I have to come back. I can't be away for Lucas's birthday. So I'm coming back, I think 4 days post show, so I'll enjoy LA, do all the scenic things like Disneyland and all that, and then come back to Aussie.
Oh, that is so exciting. I can't wait to watch all of your YouTube vlogs as well of the traveling and
Oh, it's
get
gonna be
some
great.
tips for overseas shows. I feel like the most exciting part for me, like going to the US, is going to Whole Foods. Like I love checking out supermarkets in different countries. It's just so fun.
It's going to be interesting because my friend, she competes overseas quite a bit, and she's always talking about the rice cakes over there. Apparently, they're just elite. So I'm keen for the rice cakes. Out of everything, I'm keen for the rice
So
cakes.
many rice cake options. You'll be in heaven. So have you booked accommodation like with a kitchen and things like that? Like how are you managing food when you get over there?
Yeah, definitely a kitchen. That is a number one priority. As much as like you can prep meals, I guess you just want to have a kitchen just in case something goes wrong. So we are still looking for the right accommodation just to make sure that we are in a safe place in LA and all those things. Um, but yeah, because I'll be going with Tani. So Tani and I will be staying together in LA. So we're just trying to find a nice place that's nice and close to gyms and all those important necessities, I guess. But then also with a good kitchen that we have our own areas where we need to down when we need our own downtime before the show. And yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be a really good trip.
Yeah, amazing. Very exciting. And then after the LA show, if you don't mind sharing, what are your plans?
I actually don't know yet. I actually don't know. It's funny because everyone's assuming that I'm doing the Gold Coast show when I actually don't know if I'm doing it yet. Few reasons, mainly because I have a lot of clients in the Gold Coast show. So to me, I'm like, I can't be a great coach and a great athlete at the same time. One thing has to give. However, I know that if I do decide to do the Gold Coast show, I'll have a plan in place with my team at One Percenters to ensure that all the girls are okay. But yeah, I haven't really thought about it too much. I just know that I'm doing LA. I'm going to give it 110% in LA, get off stage, enjoy LA for 4 days, and then kind of reassess where do I want to go next. If like I might get off stage and go, I'm done. Like I'm done for the year. I want to just go into a grow season because obviously we have Worlds next year, and I think that's
Mhm.
probably a number one goal on my bucket list to do Worlds. So yeah, we'll just kind of see. I have two bikinis made just in case I decide to do a second show. If not, I'll wear the second bikini next year. Like it's fine. But it might not even be Gold Coast, it might be Bali. Because we're going to Bali. We're definitely going to Bali because that after party is sounding sick. But yeah, no, it'll be really, really exciting regardless of what I decide to do.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to have so many different options, like, both locally and internationally to choose from with FMG. And there's just more and more shows coming out, which is insane. Like, you can go over to anywhere pretty much in the world soon and compete and then have a little holiday, which is pretty cool. It just really opens up so many doors, which I'm excited
Yeah.
about.
And I remember when I was an amateur, like the one thing I wanted to do was travel and compete. Like that was on my bucket list, especially go to the US. And now that there's more places popping up over in the US, that's even more exciting for the future shows, that's for sure.
Yes, so exciting. So, moving on to your business ventures and clients and things, I saw that you recently opened a posing studio with a lot of success. Can you tell me more about what inspired you to do that and what sort of services you're offering there?
So that was it actually just fell on my lap, that studio. Like I say this to everyone, they're like, what do you mean? How does a studio just fall on your lap? But I was very, very lucky. I put it out to the universe. I'm very big on, manifesting and all the spiritual woo-woo stuff. Like that is me to a T. And I remember before Christmas, I had just kind of had the idea of having my own studio because I was working out from home. I always wanted to find a studio, but I was also very picky. So I wanted the right floors, the right mirrors, the right lighting in a space that it's close for everyone to get to. Like I was just very picky with the space. And I remember going to my business coach and being like, this is what I want. How much do you think it's going to be? And she was like, Sam, good luck. Like, good luck finding that space already made. You're going to have to, build it from the ground up. Anyway, flash forward to it was just before I left for Bali. I lived in Bali for a month this year, which was the most incredible experience. But anyway, the day before I left, I got a call saying, want to come have a look at a space? And I was like, oh God, okay, here we go. Went and found the space, had a look at it, fell in love with it straight away. I looked at Lucas because he came with me and I was just like, what do you think? And he was like, well, you'd be silly not to. Like, this is the space. And it literally had everything I wanted. Like everything that I said back in Christmas, everything was there, even aircon, like a reception area, like everything was there. So signed the document, went on a plane to Bali, was in contact with the builders and stuff to confirm when it was ready, when the opening date would be. Got back from Bali, got the keys the next morning, and yeah, now we have a posing studio, which is just incredible to even say. But We run our group classes out of there, so we're very fortunate to have a downstairs and an upstairs space. So our downstairs space is a nice big open area for our group classes that we run on a Saturday for all federations, so FMG, IFBB, and ICN. And then our upstairs studio is like a little one-on-one space, enough space to still do like a tea walk if need be, but yeah, it's just like a little bit more one-on-one. We also have a reception space there so that, you know, if the girls wanting to try on our posing bikinis or any of our, I guess, clothing, they have the space there, or just hang out with friends. It's really cool because it's kind of allowed girls in the industry to make friends and have that like-minded community around them. It's very hard to find that, I think, especially for first timers, because they don't know where to look, they don't know where to find them. So opening this space and having the group classes, that was one of the main driving forces, so that we do have a community, we do have like-minded women around us, and yeah, we just make lifelong friends. That's the important part.
Yeah, that's incredible. It sounds like such a cool community. So congrats on getting that all up and running and just how you manifested it as well. That's insane.
Thank
Is
you.
that kind of what you envisioned when you first started posing coaching? Like, did you want to have your own studio one day?
Yeah, I've always wanted a studio. That was definitely number one. I was working out of a gym, and then I just wanted my own private space, and the girls could wear their bikinis, because, you know, when you're in the middle of the gym, you don't want to be walking around in a bikini. And also, like, you know, your actual stage bikini, you want that to be personal, you want that to be a secret. So I moved it home in my garage just for the time being, knowing that one day I would open an actual studio. And then yeah, the magic moment happened, and I couldn't be happier.
Incredible. Well, we'll drop all of your links below as well so that if anyone wants to come to group classes or get some posing coaching, they can reach out. And
Definitely.
speaking of coaching as well, like that must be pretty busy with prep. How do you manage your time to get all of it done?
Well, there's definitely some boo-boos. Like, you do have days where it just doesn't go to plan, and I've learned to just accept it. I've learned that I need to be adaptable. I need to have a schedule that allows me to be flexible and to also have boundaries as well. That was a very big thing that I lacked in my last prep, for sure. I would kind of allow what my clients wanted over my own needs and my own goals, I guess you could say, to the point where my last prep, I would be doing steps at 11 p.m. because I would just let the day get by me. So that was never happening again. So this prep, I have ensured that I have a team under me. So I've got 7 beautiful ladies who are working for me now, and they definitely have been a huge help this prep, just with like the back end things and taking on clients as well. So I have 2 ICN posing coaches and then 1 IFBB posing coach. So they're definitely helping out in that regard. And then I have an assistant coach in the online coaching space as well. So taking on clients has definitely been smaller for me lately. It's like the first show I've ever had a cap. Other shows I've never had a cap, but now, because I have my other girls with me, I'm able to say, no, my cap is this. This is all I have time for. I can't fit you in otherwise. Having the group classes has also been a massive help, because, you know, little things that we don't really need to work on in one-on-ones, it opens up that space. So I'm not having to see girls weekly. I can see them fortnightly if need be. And I'm actually having days off now, which is crazy, which there was a point in business where I was just not having a day off. So allowing myself to have 2 days off a week, but then also having an actual schedule. So I'm only available between this time and this time when I am actually working, and setting those boundaries and keeping them in place, not letting anything by, like, that has been a huge help. But without my team, it wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, amazing. What's your biggest piece of advice for someone who's potentially in a busy job or new in business and they're also prepping to find that balance and find the time to get everything done?
Few things. Number one would be Google Calendar. That needs to be your life. Everything needs to go in there. If it doesn't go in there, it doesn't happen. I ensure that, because I've got multiple different calendars for all the different businesses that we have, but they all link into the one. So I'm not having to look in different schedules or remember things. It's just all in the calendar. So time blocking, essentially. Number 2 would be boundaries. That's definitely a big one. I feel like it's very easy to kind of be a pushover when it comes to boundaries, and let, especially your own clients and your baby, like, you know, your actual business that you've built from the ground up. Of course, you're going to let your boundaries slide sometimes. However, that's not fair on you, and you're not able to show up as your best self. It's not selfish to log off at 5 p.m. It's necessary. It's not selfish to start at 9 a.m. Like, you don't have to get back to that message at 4 a.m. just because they've messaged you. I remember this was a phase of mine. I would get up and just reply to messages straight away. Like, I just roll over and go on my phone, or before going to bed, I'd be replying to messages as well. And I would just feel so mentally drained, and like I just couldn't take it anymore. So having those boundaries in place and allowing yourself to take that time, that's probably the biggest tip of all of them.
Yeah, amazing. Those are really good tips. And I've
Thanks.
seen you consistently putting epic content out there across multiple social media channels. And I feel like you have grown so much. You've obviously been putting in the work, but what are your best tips to grow on social media and create consistent content?
Be authentic. That's probably one thing that a lot of people don't do. They try to copy each other. They try to be this other influencer, or be this other athlete, or be this other coach, or whatever it might be. And the one thing with success in anything, not just social media, in being an athlete, being a business owner, you can't copy success. There's no black and white. Oh, if I do this, I'm going to be successful. I wish it was like that, because I'd be way more successful than what I am now. However, you've got to find your own niche. You've got to be authentic to yourself. If you try to show up as someone that you're not, people are going to see through that, especially on social media. I found there was a period of my life where I was trying to be someone that I wasn't. And people could see that. People were like, well, that's not you in person. Like, this isn't how you speak. This isn't how you act. As soon as I started being my true self and just saying how it is in my own life, my own little world, I started to attract the right type of clients, the right type of followers, the people who actually are invested in what I'm doing, are invested in, what I'm doing in my prep, what I'm doing in my business. Like, they're just genuinely intrigued. But that's because we have that somewhat of a connection. And now I find, because I'm showing up as my most authentic self, it's very easy to put out content, because I'm doing what I want to do. I'm not doing what this person's doing because that made them go viral. It probably wouldn't work for me. If anything, I would look like a copycat then. But now, because I'm showing up as myself and just kind of doing what I want to do, it's more authentic and people are relating to it more.
Yeah, I love that. And speaking of growth, but in a different area, your muscle growth has been insane this past improvement season. What advice can you give for building muscle, especially for women?
Do the build. A lot of girls don't want to grow properly. Like, I feel as though people get into a build, like they get into that starting phase, maybe 6 weeks in, and then they see the body fat come on, they're not hungry anymore, life might happen, and then suddenly it's, oh, I want to go into a cut again. No, you need to fully embrace it. You need to have the nights where you're forcing food down. You need to have the days where you might feel a bit self-conscious, but also understand in the back of your mind why you're doing it. If I didn't go through a build season of being uncomfortable, I would not have put on the muscle that I have. I was definitely fluffy. I got to a very fluffy point, but at the time I didn't care. I remember still walking around in crop tops and, bike pants and whatever, and just being like, I know I'm fluffy right now. However, my goal is way more important than what I look like in this very second, because I know that in 6 months' time, I'm going to bring the best package ever. So whenever we are having moments of, oh, I'm feeling fluffy or whatever it might be, just remember that end goal. But if that end goal isn't strong enough, you need to figure out why you're doing what you're doing, because it might even be that you just don't want to compete, or you might not want to go into a build, or whatever that is. But if that's the case, you're not going to be willing to go into a build.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just remembering that you are in control as well, like it's a controlled build, you're intentionally gaining weight and getting a bit fluffier so that you can build that muscle. And I think as long as if what you're doing is kind of in alignment with your goals, like you're still training hard, you're still eating nutritious food, or you're not just eating shit, it does make it a lot easier, I think. And you're always going to look fluffier to yourself than you do to other people. Like other people aren't going to notice as much as you do yourself.
100%. But there's another little thing that you can do, which is, if you do want to be the next pro, for example, or the next world champion, whatever it might be, when you're having a moment of self-doubt, or you don't want to eat that much food or be fluffy anymore, whatever it might be that's going on in your head, ask yourself, what would a pro do? And I can guarantee you will be like, well, they just do this. They would just eat the food. They would just go and train. They would just train like an absolute beast. You won't question it then. I've been doing that lately, and it's like this whole nother version just comes out.
Yeah, I love that. That's definitely something super helpful, especially for the amateurs out there wanting to go pro and they might be going through, you know, their first, second, third prep and really wanting that pro card. Just, yeah, like you said, what would a pro do?
Exactly.
So, what's it like prepping for comps with your partner who's also a pro? Like, how do you guys support each other during prep?
I love prepping with Lucas, which whenever I say that to people, they're always like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, surely it's hard. Which, yes, it's hard. However, we've experienced both of us in prep, and then we've experienced one in, one out on both spectrums. So we know that when we're both out of prep, amazing. When we're both in prep, amazing. When one's in and one's out, it's frustrating because one person is fully in, fully committed, getting it done, grinding hard, and then the other one's relaxing. And there's that little bit of a, I guess, I don't know what to call it. It just doesn't work as well as when you're both in prep or both out of prep. When we are in prep together, we do have the understanding that, someone might be a bit more irritable one day, someone might be a bit hungrier another day. If the partner wants to go to sleep, let them go to sleep. If they want to go train at 4 a.m., that's on them. Like, there's no questioning what the other person's doing. Not saying that would happen when we're one in, one out. However, we just have a respect for everything that's going on. If someone is irritable, we respect it. We communicate. We, let them have their time or whatever they need. But we also don't get in the way of each other. I think that's a really important thing. Like, if I have needs, I'm not going to let my needs get in the way of what he needs at this time because he might need something else at the moment. And at the end of the day, it's only for a period of our life. It's not forever. We know that once the prep is over, which is the one goal that we're both working towards right now, once the prep's done, we can celebrate and then we can come back to each other. Like, we're always going to be there. We're always going to be in each other's corner. We're not going to let just a couple of months get in the way of that. If anything, we do need a shoulder to cry on sometimes too. And when we do need that, we do come together and we do help each other out. It's kind of like a train. Like when a train is on a track, we're both on track, we're both working hard, but then one train might go off the track a little bit. The other person comes with the track, gets them back on track. And that's just kind of how we view our relationship all the time, whether we're in prep or out of prep. But I must say, though, hats off to him. When I was in prep and he wasn't, he was the most supportive person in my life. When I did the July show, it was definitely needed. And I know that if I was ever out of prep and he was in prep, it would be the same way. It's just about respect, I think. But then also, as I said, understanding that's not going to last forever.
Yeah, amazing. I think it probably helps that you both understand what it's like to go through a prep as well. Like most people probably have that dynamic where the other partner is not in prep and they've never been through a prep and they don't understand what it's like to go through a prep. What's your advice for someone who's with someone or friends and family who don't understand what it's like prepping and they're struggling with those relationships?
All you can do is communicate. That is the only thing. And unfortunately, there are going to be people in your life who still don't get it. This can go two ways. Either it's going to go, they're never going to want to talk to you again, they're going to leave you. Okay, that's fine. Stop trying to hold on to something negative in your life and just let it go, because that might be the reason that you're being held back in certain other areas. If you want to excel and exceed and be this next level version of you, sometimes people are going to have to be let go of, and that's okay. I feel like a lot of people are too scared of that outcome, and I get it. I've been there. I've lost a lot of close people in my life since becoming a bodybuilder. However, I look back on it and go, wow, like that relationship may have been a little bit toxic or may not have actually gotten me to where I want to go. Maybe they were actually holding me back in certain areas. But then on the other side of it, the people that love you for you and also just want to see you succeed, they won't care what you're doing. They will just want to be there and support you. They will just want to understand, how can I support you? How can I be there for you? What do you need? Okay, you're hungry. Okay, how do I help with that? And yeah, it might be annoying because it's like, you can't help me with that. Like, I get it. But you need to communicate with them and let them help in their own way, or even give them a way to help. Like when Lucas was out of prep and I was in prep, I remember saying to him, on weekends, I don't want to be home. I want us to have events. I want us to go and do things. I want us to feel like normal human beings. And immediately he was like, that's what you need. That's what we're going to do. Saturdays, Sundays, we're out of the house. We're going to go do fun activities. We're going to do recovery things, all prep friendly, So that wouldn't have happened though if I didn't communicate that with him. So maybe have a look at your communication. Okay, have I actually spoken to this person and told them what I actually need from them? Or have I just kept it a secret and caused all these arguments when I eventually explode?
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of prep friendly activities and date ideas, do you have any suggestions?
Oh, so many. Great ones would be movies. Going to the movies, that's always a great one. You can take your own containers and stuff. Bowling, mini golf. Honestly, like any activity, you can make it prep friendly as long as it's not revolved around food. Like obviously going and getting a meal, that's not going to help. But anything that you can physically do is always going to be prep friendly. We were even talking the other day about going paddleboarding. Like how fun! That'd be so much fun, right? We went paddleboarding like 2 years ago, I think it was, and it was the most fun time ever. You can go for a walk. That's always a good one. You know, getting a coffee with a friend and just getting a nice walk in, just getting your ice on black. That's all you can have, but you know, it works. Going to the beach. That is always so good in prep. Like your whole day just goes by. Recovery based things as well. They're always really handy. So getting a massage together or going to a sauna or whatever it might be, you know, those types of things are obviously going to not only allow you to spend time with your partner, but then also get recovery in for your prep. So honestly, anything, you can make anything prep friendly if you have the mindset to. If you're going to be focused on the food aspect of it, because there's going to be food everywhere. Like when we go bowling, there's hot dogs everywhere. But if we're focused on just the activity side of it, it's not that bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I love all of those ideas. And can you tell us a bit more about your collaboration with AlphaWear that is so exciting?
Yeah, it's really exciting, hey? I have known about this for way too long and I've kept it a secret for way too long. I'm actually very impressed with myself, to be honest. Normally I would spill the tea at some point, but nope, I've kept it a secret until we announced it last week. So this collection is just going to be absolutely epic. It's going to be seamless, bright colors. That's all I can really say right now. However, it's going to be perfect for the athlete. As I said in the launch campaign video that we posted last week, it's going to be perfect for an athlete who just wants to go in and train, have the supportive top, bottom, etc. Because there's nothing worse than when you get a really pretty top or really pretty bottoms, but they're just not supportive. They fall down. You know, everything's hanging out. Like it's just not a vibe. So I wanted to bring out something that the athlete could use, but still look good in the gym. So yeah, very excited for that to drop. I'm just very grateful that AlphaWare gave me that opportunity. It's just such a surreal feeling. It's something I've always wanted to do, bring out my own collection for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It must feel like such a huge milestone like in your career.
I remember when Sarah's Day brought out a collection with White Fox and I would watch it and I would just be like, oh, I want that to happen. Once again, manifestation, like big believer of it. But yeah, I just looked at it and I was like, that's what I want to do one day. Like that would be the most incredible feeling. And then, yeah, the opportunity came up at the start of the year. I was pinching myself. And I think once I see it in person, as in like seeing people wear it or seeing my campaign video up on the stage, it's just going to be like, oh my God, this actually happened. Like that's me. That's going to be a surreal feeling seeing my video up on the stage at FMG. That will just be wild. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's a very, very much a pinch me moment. That's for sure.
incredible. Well, congratulations. Do you know
Thank
what
you.
date it's dropping?
End of August. That's all we're saying at the moment. It was supposed to be September, but we've brought it forward slightly, mainly because we just can't help it. We just want to get it out.
Very, very excited to see what you guys have come up with.
Thank
So,
you.
for those who are interested in following your journey or learning more about your coaching, where can they find you online?
Yep. So my Instagram is at underscore Samantha Wicks. My coaching, so for lifestyle, it's at Wicksfit Co. My posing business is through there as well. I do FMG posing through the Posing Institute. So ICN and IFBB is through Wicksfit, and then FMG is through Posing Institute. I then work for One Percenters for comp rep. So you just have to look up One Percenters on Instagram. You can find me there. Gosh, you can find me everywhere. Hey.
We are everywhere.
Oh my goodness. But then I also am documenting my prep on YouTube, which is just Samantha Wicks. So yeah, we'd love to have everyone follow me along. That's probably the most motivating thing, like knowing that I have people supporting me through, especially because I'll be overseas. Like, oh, I'm gonna be by myself and everything. So yeah, knowing that you guys are following me and watching me through the journey, yeah, it's always a bit more motivating than just being by myself, that's for sure.
Yeah, incredible. Well, I will drop all of those links below so people can follow you if they're not already.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to see your progress in these final weeks leading up to the LA show.
Thank you. I'm excited to see your progress leading into your show. Hey, that's exciting.
Thank you. Yes, very exciting. Feel like they come around fast, don't they?
Oh, right. It feels like yesterday was last year's show. It's like, what do
Yeah.
you mean we're getting on stage soon?
Insane, insane. And thank you so much to our listeners as well. If you could take a minute to follow, rate, and share this podcast. Let us know what you're doing while you're listening to it or watching it. We love to see you getting through your cardio or your steps on prep with the podcast. And I would be so grateful because it really does help us to grow and get more incredible guests on. Thanks, guys.